What's cooking, good looking? Peter Von Panda here. I want to bust out one of my watches that I haven't taken a look at before. This is my Breitling Superocean Heritage 46mm diver's watch. I've replaced the band here with a Breitling alligator crocodile style leather band, which makes it a little more of a kind of stealthy daily wear, but otherwise it's a fairly true diver's watch. I really like the design and the heritage name on the very long, historic and celebrated Superocean line is a reference to the super oceans of the 50s. So you can look at this and say it looks a little old-fashioned, and it is, because it looks very much like those older divers watches. It has this black bezel here, ceramic, I believe, and this particular watch came in a few different colors, including, I believe, black and blue. And in the Superocean line, I don't know if it's if it was a standard thing or not, but I've seen them also in kind of that brown and green. So there are a variety of colors out there. I'm just a little more conservative and went with the straight black. You can never go wrong with black. It has anti-reflective coating on the crystal, which you can kind of see there. It looks a little blue when you get direct light on it, but it works very nicely. And obviously a sapphire crystal with just a little bit of dome in the crystal there. The bezel moves, and it's really great. It snaps to each position. The water resistance here, as you can see, it says 200 meters, 660 feet. So you could really use this for diving. But the issue is with a lot of the divers watches that I've called out is that there's no lume pip on the outer bezel. So in this case, I don't know if you'd really want to use it for diving, because you can't use the bezel without some sort of external light to help time your dive. But each of the pips at the hour, at these hour markers, not at the 60, 15, 45, and 30, are luminous, and the hands are luminous too. And you can see that the hour marker is a huge triangle there, so that one really sticks out, and the lume is quite bright. Applied markers across the face, kind of those chrome silver markers at each of the hours. And what's also interesting is that the Breitling B on the watch at the noon position there is gold toned. It may be gold, I don't actually know, but it is certainly gold toned. And nice coin edge here, easy to grip. You know, it's just a great looking watch. You know, it's kind of that classic style Superocean. Everything is screened on there very nicely. Serious depth in the watch below the crystal. You know, this watch has a few years of age on it. You can see a little bit of that being reflected on the watch, but you know, it's just a solid watch. It is a caliber 17 movement, I believe. Let me just verify that. Caliber 17 by Breitling, which is basically a version of the ETA 2824, I believe. So a great automatic movement, no exhibition back here, so you can't see it. I can feel the rotor moving a little bit here as I swing it back and forth. It would be considered a special edition, as it says Special here, because it's you know, a kind of a throwback design, but it's not a limited edition. There's plenty of these out there. This isn't numbered 1 of 10,000 even, which is kind of hardly a limited edition when you make that many of them. But it's a pretty substantial watch, and if I'm right, I think this came in a 38mm and a 46mm, which is a huge range. Right now, I believe, if you look on the Breitling site, and I think it says like a 42mm and a 46mm, which is actually a big disparity even on the currently released ones, because a 42mm watch, in my opinion, is pretty small, and 46 is kind of just about right, but it's pretty big by most standards. So it looks big, it's pretty substantial. I think it's over 13.5mm thick. Lug to lug, it's 55.5mm, and even the band itself is pretty wide. So the lug width is a 24mm distance, which is actually a pretty wide band. So you can kind of get some pretty good. Well, let me try to refocus there for you. Sorry. You can get. Oh, come on, focus, buddy. You can get you get a lot of presence with this watch. It doesn't wear particularly big, although I always find it funny when someone says it doesn't wear like a 46 millimeter. Well, what does it wear like then? But, you know, it's just in the size of the watch I liked. You know, I've had Breitlings before that have been smaller, and I've always kind of wanted something bigger. And I like that Breitling makes watches in similar styles at varying sizes. So that's kind of nice. You can get a watch kind of in your style. Pretty average wrist, about 7.5 inches. And I think it looks perfect. Like I said, the original band that came on here was a steel mesh, kind of you know, a shark's, what do you call it, like that, you know, a really fine woven mesh, kind of like chainmail, or that chainmail you wear shark diving. It fits the style of the watch, excuse me, perfectly because it's a diver's watch. Excuse me. Plus, it's really shiny, and so it gives it a lot of bling. The other band that typically comes on it is a rubber band with the portholes in it, and that's also a really cool looking band. I have no problems with that band either, because it definitely gives it a little more sporty look. But if it's easy to swap out. They're just spring bars behind to hold. Holding in the band, so you can easily swap them out and kind of change that style a little bit. Sapphire glass, like you'd expect. You know, a pretty nice, generous size crown here, which is a screw down crown. I'll show you that just like the ETA movement that you'd expect, pops out. In the first position is date changing, I believe. So if I change that, you can see the date rolls over. And in the second position, it's a time changing, and you can see there the second hands are hacking. So I can go ahead and change the time, and I'm not going to change it too much because it's actually on the right time. But then, before it goes into the screw down position, you can wind the movement there a little bit, but then push it in and screw that bad boy back in there. And, you know, it's a great, reliable movement. I have never had a problem with this movement being off time. And in fact, I've just pulled it out today, wound it up a little bit this morning, set it to the right time, and shooting this video in the afternoon, and it was just spot on with the time. So I've always been really happy. You know, great solid movement, which is something you'd expect from a kind of a high-end brand like Breitling. But it's you know, it's a pretty accessible piece. I think this watch has been out for a few years now, and I think retail-wise it's about $4,000. Which gets you or just a nice classic style that you can wear all the time. So if you're really looking for a good watch that you can wear in a casual environment, in a formal environment, you know, this is probably just one to get. You know, it just kind of fits a lot of the different situations you'll run in. So if you're really looking for a more versatile watch, I really like the face too. It's not super shiny. There's no gill shade to it or anything. It has just a little bit of text, a little bit of sheen to it, kind of a flat sheen, which is kind of cool. You know, but there's nothing really about this watch that is kind of leveraging all of those little watchmaker tricks to make something look really, really special. It just kind of has classic understated elegance. And, you know, this would be a competitor to Rolex Submariner, or just a standard Rolex, you know, stainless steel Roro. So you can wear it nice and happily without saying, well, I had to go get a Roro. But anyway, 25 jewel movement, and it's a great overall watch. You know, the lugs have some nice curve to it. It's got that standard kind of huge locking lug type of back end, and if you're a Breitling guy, you'll really like it, and if you're not a Breitling guy, you probably won't. So even if you're not a Breitling guy, I think you'll kind of like this watch. And the other thing I've noticed is that I think this watch also comes in a chronometer. So I've seen ones with a few subdials, which kind of give it a little bit more of a modern look. So if you really like chronometers, or not chronometers, chronographs, then that might be the watch for you. Anyway, check them out. Breitling, one of my favorite brands overall. They just make a lot of awesome watches, from the Navitimer to the Emergency and the Blackbird. They just have a huge, awesome line of really awesome watches. So just one of my favorite overall brands. Peter von Panda, out.